live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. Alongside me is my counterpart, Joe DeLeone. Good evening, sir. How are we doing? Less than 2 weeks away from college football.
I'm doing pretty good. You hit the important part there. That is the indicator for my mood. I feel like we are so damn close. Look, I know that, and we've said this before, the preseason is what it is for the NFL. But I don't know what it is, man. It feels like I'm watching like a MAC game in the middle of the day when there's nothing else on. It's giving me enough of a taste, Blake. I need some real football.
Yeah, I'm not, so as an example, people were like, oh, Saints going undefeated, like first drive with Derek Carr. And I'm like,
yeah,
it's just so aggravating.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Like, come
Anthony
on.
Richardson's pick, though, was telling of how he's going to do this year, right?
Who?
Anthony Richardson's his interception that he threw is an indicator that he's going to do poorly. That you texted me about this weekend, right? That what
that's different than a team winning the Super Bowl. Him making an outright horrendous pass is different than a team winning a Super Bowl. You know it. He's going to struggle.
Yeah, it's his first year as a starter.
Okay.
It's his first year. He's going to play like crap. The Colts are going to be bad. They're going to draft Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu, and then they're going to ride off into the sunset in year 2.
No, they're not.
Put some respect on his name.
Whose name?
Anthony Richardson's name.
No. I mean, I think he's a great type of prospect, but a top 5 pick?
I think he's going to get there. We've already got did you see the super chat that somebody threw in here?
No, I did not. Oh, Adam. My man Adam with the Canadian dollars.
No. Look at what he said ahead of that.
He says, I'll send a super chat if Joe gives us a Go Tigers. Okay.
So I technically don't have to say it because he already gave us
a Go Tigers and stop being a Rudy Poo.
Go Tigers.
All right. That's what I like to say. Thank you, Adam, my man, for the super chat. Look at my man.
I'm like a homeless guy playing a guitar, basically, is what I'm. was what I've.
Well, those people actually have skills.
Yeah, exactly. I have none, apparently.
Apparently so. All right. Thank you, Adam, so much. My man sending the Canadian currency. You got it. I love it. Thank you so much. But we do got a big show in store for you today. We'll go through our predictions of Heisman Trophy, Bednarik Award, and the 2023 College Coach of the Year. We'll react to the AP poll being released today. Yeah, it was a lot of the same as the coaches poll. Michael Lohr alleges that he was taken advantage of, which can we stop right there for just a minute? What in the hell is going on with this Mike? Like, bro, what took you so long?
Well, I forget when it was. There was another article that was published a while ago that he felt like he was taken advantage of. And today was when it was actually published that he was filing a lawsuit. And it seems like over a period of time that their relationship, the one with the Tuohys, the family that adopted him, which they didn't actually, it was starting to worsen over time. And it got to this point now where, I mean, he's got enough evidence. I think that's why it took so long, Blake, is that he had to collect enough evidence. He needed to do enough digging in this. You can't just file a lawsuit unless there's actual reason to do so.
10 years?
Well, the other thing that was talked about in the ESPN article is that he was so focused on football.
There it is. So he's done with football and he's not getting a paycheck, and now he wants money.
I don't think that's what it is. I side with Oher on this. I
don't side with the Tuohys. I'm just saying, like, everybody's like, oh, well, of course they did bad things to him. Okay. All right. I don't disagree with that. But at the same time, everybody's like, oh, Michael Oher the victim. And I'm like, well, he wasn't a victim when he was getting paid underneath the table at Ole Miss either.
Yes, and I also think that there obviously were good things that were done for him by the Tuohy family, but at the same time, like the whole cons, oh my God, what's the word? I'm blanking on the word, but the whole arrangement that he signed and the paperwork that he signed set him up to get effed, and he did get effed. If he can prove that he didn't get any money from that movie, he netted $0, then he got completely screwed over by that family.
I do not disagree with you there. I do not disagree with you there. So we'll talk about that as well. And Jim Harbaugh, not going to be suspended for 4 games in the 2023 season, which it was an outright dunk on the NCAA. Good for them. Again, what are we talking about? Like, what are we legitimately talking about? Like, suspended for – I think that the NCAA got so much backlash from this, and they were like, all right, well, he's not suspended. Joe, we're talking about buying a recruit a hamburger, bro. Like –
well, the statement that they came out with was that it's not just for buying a cheeseburger. That was the literal quote, and they let the message board dorks get to them, which is hilarious.
It's not message board dorks, Joe.
I know. But my point here is this is a pissing match. This is a pissing match. Harbaugh
at the NCAA lost.
Yeah, but now they did lose it, and now they're coming back and they're pissed off the way that it was handled and the way that people have described them.
Well, good.
You're saying it's good that the NCAA did that?
No, I'm saying it's good that they got screwed.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I love that they got screwed.
Yeah.
All right, we got a lot to talk about. Maybe for once we can talk some football. I will tell you this, Joe, not looking good for your former OC in Alabama right now.
Really? What have you heard?
Not. Well, the quarterbacks couldn't hit a damn window if it saved them. You know, they couldn't hit the broadside of the barn with a telephone pole if it saved their life. It's going to be Jalen Milroe.
They should just.
I would be shocked if Jalen Milroe does not run out there first. I would legitimately be shocked.
They should just run the triple option. Don't even throw the football. What's stopping them?
Okay, now you're just
the wishbone. Run the wishbone. What? Why not? If you can't throw the ball, seriously, if you can't throw the ball, you need to get creative. I'm not being serious, but they need to just run the ball.
Why are you the way that you are?
Well, it's a good point. You think that they're not going to lean on running the ball if they can't throw the ball?
Well, I think it's all they're going to do.
Yes.
I think it's all they're going to do. All right. We got a lot to talk about. We'll get rolling. We do have we do have AYS Sports live at 7 o'clock too. Joe, did make my way out to Dallas. We'll talk about that. 5-star recruit Corey Moore recruiting live on AYS. So it was a big weekend. So, all right, we got a lot to touch on. Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag though first. If you're on Facebook, do us a favor by hitting the like and share to all of those social media groups. Share to all of those social media pages. If you're listening to us on YouTube, like, subscribe, notification bell. Wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. And if you're listening to us or watching us on Fubo TV, welcome. Let's talk about our good friends, though, over at betonline.ag. Don't go anywhere. We're back next. Let's talk some college football, man. I'm excited. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. We're back. Texas isn't. All right, we do got a lot to get into here tonight in reference to, look, we're going to make some projections, Joe. We're going to talk a lot about who we see. You know, you trash my quarterback, Jane Daniels, and I
didn't trash him. I didn't trash him.
Well, you got me in a lot of trouble. But nevertheless, we'll do our Heisman. We'll do our Defensive Player of the Year. We'll do Coach of the Year. But I do want to start off with this. The AP poll came out. Anything stand up for you? It looked to me like it was a lot like the coaches poll. Alabama's at 4. It was pretty much the coaches poll, really.
Yeah, I think that there were some subtle differences between the AP and the coaches poll, but similar takeaways that we had for the coaches poll when we talked about it last week. One, why is Alabama ahead of LSU, a team that lost to LSU, that has more roster holes, and we're putting them at number 4 because of Nick Saban? That's my biggest qualm with it. And then the next one is I hate that Texas is where they continue to be placed. They should be in that 15 range. They didn't finish the season ranked last year. Yes, they made improvements, but can we wait till to prove themselves before they're in the top 15, in that top half of the top 25? I don't know what media members are picking them that high. I can get it when the coaches do it.
Well, I can tell you because it's published every week.
Yes, it is.
So if you do want to look, like, I don't know. I'm not gonna pick on any of these people, but some of the people that have an AP vote have zero business having an AP vote. Okay, so that is what it is. Joe, I mean, look, what do you want me to say, really? What do you want me to really say in reference to this AP top 10? Okay, because I look at it, you got Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU, USC, Penn State, Florida State, Clemson, and Washington that round out your top 10. Here's where I just sit with this. I saw Tulane got into the top 25. I'm going to say something that I probably shouldn't, because I do love the controversy that polls do bring, and it shows big matchups and what people think. And I do like that we have preseason polls on what people think. The end of the day, though, Joe, we're 2 weeks out. It doesn't matter. Okay? This does not matter. The problem that the AP poll consistently has is their voters. And they want to go with writers. They want to go with people that are, associated with a business or a publication. And that doesn't make them better if you're with a certain publication. This isn't just a Southeastern thing. This isn't just a Western thing. This is all across the country that this is happening. The bottom line for me is this. I understand still Alabama being number 4. Okay. I will continue to say that Nick Saban deserves to be in the top 5, because the likelihood, Joe, of him losing more than 3 games is highly unlikely.
Yes.
Okay? It's highly unlikely, which they will be in there anyway. The problem, or the thing that I look at the most, Joe, in the top 10, one of the top 10 I just named, historically, they're going to win. They're going to be your national champion. Since the playoff and BCS has started, a team in the top 10 has been your national champion. So you know who they are. They're right there. Nobody's coming out of the ether. If history has taught us anything, it's going to be one of those top 10. I don't think it's Washington. I don't think it's Clemson. I don't think it's some of the teams that people want to see do good. I don't think it's USC, but we'll see. That's the way that I look at the top 10. I think everybody's pretty consistent, though, on the top 10 and the top 10 teams. Where you have them ordered, Joe, I don't really care, but at least there's some consistency that everybody agrees on the top 10 teams at least.
Now, it's also worth noting, we're so close to the start of the season, everybody is releasing their own top 25 polls. You and I are going to put out our own top 25 polls on this show either Wednesday or the next show that we do after that, before the start of the season. So we're going to get our chance to take a legitimate crack at this. I don't disagree with that premise, though. I think that I am getting a bit nitpicky with talking about Alabama. I just think it's silly to me to place a team at number 4 ahead of a team that they lost to. And on paper, if we pull up both of these rosters, one looks a lot better than the other one. I can't find a reason to rank Alabama ahead of LSU. I'm not the LSU homer either on this show, so it's not like I'm sitting here pulling for my team. I just think if I remove any bias against either team, it doesn't make any sense to me. The other thing too that really caught my attention is no Texas Tech. None. I was really surprised that the coaches picked Texas Tech, but the media members, I would have thought they would have maybe driven them up the board a little bit.
Yeah, basically what Texas Tech was, in which we had a lot of Texas Tech people in our clip, they were giving you a really hard time. They were I went and saw.
God forbid I said they weren't going to win the national championship. I'm a hater.
Yeah, I know they were giving you a tough time on the show. How about that? They replaced Texas Tech with Tulane. Is what they did.
No, Tulane made the coaches poll.
Did they?
I think it was Iowa. I think Iowa was the one who.
Okay.
Iowa should not be on here. Iowa should not be on here. That was bullshit.
Okay, yes. Can we just mention that Iowa has zero business being on any top 25 list? Should we do our own top? Here's the thing about top 25 lists too, Joe. Yeah. It's too many.
Yeah,
yes. I did this for Believe all last season. I did it the year before, which kind of started Believe doing this. I came out with my top 10 every week. Every single week for the last 3 years, I come up with my top 10. My preseason poll after week 0, after week 1. That's how I do it. Okay? But I'm going to, because regardless, 11 through 25, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter.
You're right. You're right.
Okay. It matters for recruiting. It matters for all these other things. It doesn't matter for college football. It matters for TV ratings. Iowa is not going to win that many games. Their coaching staff is more than likely going to be fired by the end of the year. So yes, please put them in the top 25. But you know what? You know what these people don't do when they look up the AP poll? They don't talk about, I don't know let me look and see a team that maybe didn't make it. Okay. Because now I'm just looking and grasping at straws because I didn't really pay too much attention to it because it didn't really matter. So like when I look at it, you got Iowa at 25, Ole Miss at 22. Joe, Ole Miss has zero business being behind North Carolina, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Oregon State. Quite honestly, and I'm going to make this pretty well known, I think Utah. Like Ole Miss sitting there at 22. Do you have any faith right now that UNC could go into Oxford and beat them? What about Oklahoma?
Absolutely not. Well, so like that to me is the premise of building these ballots. And by the way, I am actually on an official ballot. I do the Stats FCS ballot, which is FCS obviously, but I feel like the process of building these is so poorly done, especially by some of these media members. The best approach, you should always look at the teams that are around one another and say to yourself, okay, can this team beat this team? No, they can't. Okay, they're going to be lower. Can they? I'm going to move them ahead. And then you keep shifting and reshuffling with that approach. That is one thing that I feel like is commonly so missed. Instead, we're so hung up on the resume aspect of it. And we're so hung up on the, if you've got one signature win, it puts yourself so much further up the board. And like North Carolina is probably going to have a good record at the end of the year. They're probably going to finish with 3 losses. They're probably going to finish at that 20 spot. But to your point, yes, Ole Miss is good enough to beat North Carolina. And frankly, we did our Ole Miss preview. Like that was another thing too. I'm glad that you brought up Ole Miss. We did our Ole Miss preview. I think Ole Miss has a lot of potential this year to be a top 15 team. Instead, we've got some of these. We've got Oregon State. We've got TCU. We've got Utah and Oregon ahead of Ole Miss.
That should not happen. Like, no. And what's crazy to me about this is too, like the problem with these, and this is my last point of all this, the people voting for this do not break down all these other teams.
Mm-mm. No, and you look at the list of people who are voting, they're all local reporters.
Correct. Let me tell you who should have top 25 votes. Me and you, Kirk Herbstreit. We're not going to get them. Joel Klatt, the entire ESPN College Game Day booth, not named Lee Corso, Jake Crane and Company. I think those dudes do a really good job. Name some other big-time people that that it's plugged into college athletics. The real dudes, right? Like the real dudes. Let those people have top 25 votes. The Rudy Poo who wears, sorry, I'm about to say this, glasses and played cricket growing up. Okay, but you wear glasses, but you didn't play cricket. Did you play cricket?
I'm from New Jersey. You think I play cricket?
Well, rugby and cricket isn't on the same level.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, not rugby, lacrosse, whatever. I just don't get it. I don't get it. But you know what I do get? You know what I do get?
Go ahead.
And I hope because of what you posted last week that actually you'll do me the favor and post this on social media this week. I'm going to come back at you for your statement a couple of weeks ago when you talked about Jane Daniels, because we're going to have to get into our Heisman predictions. I'm going ultimate homer here.
Oh, are all three of your picks are going to be LSU?
No.
Okay. As long as all three of them are in LSU, I'm fine with. I can make arguments for some of these, and I can predict which ones you're going to go with. As long as all three of them are not LSU, I'm fine with it.
I don't like picking a Heisman this far out, but I'll do it for you. I do think it's going to be Drake May, Jane Daniels, Caleb Williams.
Okay. Do you want to jump right into this segment?
We can. I mean,
let's do it.
I mean, we can't. I mean, Joe, the truth is the three Heisman finalists to me, pick one, is going to be Jane Daniels, Drake May, or Caleb Williams. Or if somebody comes out of the ether and does something special, and I'm just throwing a name out here at this point. What if KJ Jefferson and Arkansas goes 9-3 and he has an unreal year? Like, I do think that there are some long shots. Don't give me a running back. Don't give me a wide receiver. Don't give me a defensive player. I know, Jesus knows, Santa Claus knows that the more than likely the top three dudes that will win the Heisman will either be Jane Daniels, who I think, Joe, and what I've seen with my own eyes, this dude is light years from where he was a season ago. Caleb Williams, he's going to be the number one overall pick, barring injury or fingernails being painted. And Drake May might be one of the better prospects at quarterback that we've seen maybe since Andrew Luck, depending on who you talk to about just natural God-given ability. Those are my three. I can pick, you know what? I should probably write their names down, put it in my hat, and just, pick one. I'm okay with it. But I do think it will be one of those three. That's where I sit.
Well, I'm going to give you a singular pick.
Okay.
I decided to narrow it down, and you didn't mention this man's name. It is not a receiver. It is not a running back. It's an offensive lineman. No, just kidding. This guy that you didn't mention.
Michael Penix?
Michael Penix Jr.
Okay,
Look, I think that what is going to happen here, it almost never happens that we get a back-to-back year winner. Caleb Williams would need to top everything that he did last year.
I agree with that.
Going to the college football playoff. We're talking about winning the Pac-12. We're talking about improved stats. That's what it takes for him to re-win that award. Because, look, Bryce Young had a chance to go back-to-back. He didn't do it. He didn't get the job done. There's plenty of guys that have done it as sophomores and redshirt freshmen in the past decade that have not come back and re-upped because there's always been a bigger storyline.
Tebow did. Like, there's been a lot. You're right. I agree with you.
There's always a bigger storyline. There's always a new face that is the headline of college football. And I made this pick not based on who I think is going to statistically have the best season.
But I think that might get to the playoff.
Yeah, I do. So here's my whole
put him in there.
Here's my whole point with Michael Penix Jr. I stand by what I said on the last show, that I think that Washington is going to go to the college football playoff. And with them going to the college football playoff means that they're going to have an unreal season. They're going to beat USC. He is going to vanquish the villain in the Pac-12 and take down Caleb Williams. He is going to get to a level that is going to put his name in every single headline. We did it last year. We tried to do it with Max Duggan. We tried to build him up. He fell short. And had he won the Big 12 championship game, I would argue that
more votes.
He might have gotten more votes. It's very highly possible that he could have gotten more votes. But what I think with Michael Penix Jr., he put up stupid stats last year. Both of his receivers come back. Most of his offensive line comes back. Everything is set up for this guy to have a fantastic, fantastic season. If they run the table, win the Pac-12, go to the college football playoff, I think that guy's going to win the award, because I just think that some of these other guys are going to get eaten up in parts of their schedule. I think that Drake May is not going to get back to the ACC championship game. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that Caleb Williams, to the point I'm bringing up here, is going to fall short. And I know that you want to go with Jayden Daniels. I can see him standing there at the podium at the end of the season, and I can see him having some Heisman moments and some big, big games. But I just don't know if success is going to be purely because of him. Like, I feel as though Jayden Daniels gets there because the whole team is doing really well.
Joe, with all due respect,
okay.
With all due respect,
okay,
That's for every quarterback. You don't see a 5-7 quarterback winning the,
Well, Paul Hornung did, but
in 1981.
My point is, Blake, what I'm trying to say with that is that, yes, you need to have a good team around you. But I think Washington's success and for them to reach the playoff and for all that to happen is going to be heavily because of him making highlight plays every single game. I don't think Jay Daniels has to do that. Jay Daniels has a better supporting cast.
Here's what I think. I think he's going to have to. See, I completely disagree with that. I think he's going to have to go into Tuscaloosa and pull a Joe Burrow. Not like that, but pull a, Joe, if he has 250 yards passing, 100 yards rushing, and 4 touchdowns, where Burrow damn near threw for, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember off the top of my head, but threw for 400 yards and got the monkey off of LSU's back. He's going to have to go into Tuscaloosa and do that. He's going to have to go into Orlando and do that. And here's the truth. He's going to have to go into Georgia and do that. Okay? The 3 toughest games, arguably, that LSU has will be on the road. And if he can go in there and beat all 3 of those teams, Joe, statistically, I think it would be like a Robert Griffin III to some extent, where it's like, okay, well, he didn't throw for the most yards, he didn't throw for the most touchdowns, but the dude went on the road and won. Okay? Now, I do agree with you, and I struggled with putting Caleb Williams in my top 3, right? Like my 3 guys that can win. And I do agree with you. You know how much I love Michael Penix Jr. He's in the same boat as a JD5 would be, okay? You're going to have to win those big games for all 3 of them. The only quarterback that I think, or a player that I think that could go 8-4, 9-3, Joe, and win it, would be a Drake May. Do you remember when Tebow won it? They went 8-4, 9-4 with the bowl game win. They did not have a great season. So no. I think because people like him so much, maybe. But I just don't think that there's a clear-cut, I just don't feel like there's a clear-cut dude. Very quickly, who won the Heisman last year? Go.
It's Caleb Williams.
Okay. Well, I probably shouldn't have asked you. Yeah, I should have never asked. Okay. You want to move to our defensive player of the year?
Well, let's talk about the Bednarik Award. Do you have one guy or do you have a couple of guys again?
You go first.
All right, I have one pick, and I kept this one so simple. I feel like it's happened to kind of the past couple of years, and last year especially. Will Anderson was the winner last year. He won the award last year
and he shouldn't. He should not have won it.
Who should have won it?
Jalen Carter.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but my point is that those that are up for
clap, dog. Again, Tennessee and LSU clapped them cheeks.
A lot of times, the winner of this award is a big name, and it's somebody that's in the contention for being a top draft pick the upcoming year.
What?
Who's name? I'm not going to say Harold Perkins. I'm not saying Harold Perkins. I'm going to say Jared Verse. So we're going with a lot of Florida State picks this preseason. I think that Jared Verse has solidified himself as the best defensive player in the country already with everybody that's left for the NFL. He could have gone to the NFL. He decided to come back. They're gearing up for a national championship run. The guy is twitchy. He is explosive. He beat the shit out of LSU in week 1 and made a name for himself. And you know what? The expectation is that he's going to want to do that again to build off of the success that he had last year. He was banged up, I believe, in a couple spots. And if he's back, no issues, I think that he wins the award because as I've predicted, and this is a lot, there's a running theme here. I'm picking guys that are on teams that are my top 4 for the college football playoff. If they go to the college football playoff, it's going to be because Jared Verse has a crazy season and he's going to win the Bednarik.
I also wrote down Jared Verse.
Hey.
So I do like him a lot. And let me tell you why. The voting on the Defensive Player Award always goes to a guy that should have won it the year before. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And I do think that he has, like, I think, even though I would want to come out and say like a Harold Perkins, who I think is arguably one of the best players in college football, I don't think he's going to win it because, look, like, and LSU fans would know this, like Grant Delpit won the Thorpe Award in 19. He had no business winning it. Zero. He was hurt for parts
he had a bad year. He had a bad year.
Well, Derek Stingley Jr. should have won it. Okay, yeah. In my opinion. He should have won it as a freshman, but they don't like giving it to freshmen for whatever reason. I like Jared Verse a lot, but if I came out of the blue, we've talked about this player before. If I just came out of the blue with somebody that nobody would think about, who do you think that I would say?
Michael Williams.
Well, shit.
Was that who you were going to say?
Yeah, because remember,
we talked about him
2.5 months ago. We talked about him at length. And Joe, I do think that he's going to make a massive impact at Georgia. I do think that he's going to be somebody that just comes out of nowhere that people are like, oh, well, this kid was a former 5-star, whatever. But people are not talking about him enough. So those three dudes and adding Perkins would be my guy.
Right. I think you make a really good point, though, here is that a lot of times this award in particular, it's not like the Heisman because the defensive players just don't get publicized as much as the offensive guys do. We tend to give the award to somebody a year late. Like Will Anderson should have won it the year prior. I don't know if he did. I think it might have been Aiden Hutchinson the year prior that ended up winning it. But, he didn't win it as a sophomore. And then he goes on and win it as a junior when he had a down year. Mm-hmm. I think that that's very applicable for Michael Williams and Harold Perkins. They're going to be the guys that are fighting for the award in 2024. I think that it's probably going to go to the name that is just going to be continuously circulated. Even if he has like an average season, Jared Verse is probably still going to win the award.
I do tend to agree that I do like him to win it as well. Guys, I'm not going to talk about Denver Harris. Wait until we get to AYS. Joe, you want to talk about Coach of the Year?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to start off first here, okay? You ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stay on that same trend and topic. I'm going to go, actually, believe it or not, I'm going to go Mike Norvell. Because I do think, because since I picked them to get into the playoff and there to be a potential rematch between LSU and Florida State, from where Florida State came to getting to the playoff, he would win it. He would win it over Saban. He'd win it over Kirby. He'd win it over Brian Kelly. The only other way that Mike Norvell, in my prediction of them getting to a playoff, the way that he wouldn't win it is if a new coach did get in it, like a Coach McGuire at Texas Tech, or if Sark, for the love of God, please, Jesus, I hope this doesn't happen. But if Texas got into a playoff, okay?
Right.
Hey, he would probably win it. I do think because Mike Norvell and this team can win the playoff and win 10, 11 games, I do think he's got a chance. I'm going to double down with two Florida State dudes. I'm going to go Mike Norvell as winning that award for me.
Well, this shows a damn echo chamber because I also wrote down Mike Norvell, and now I feel like a total hack that we wrote down the same names. That's my thing here is in running theme that I went with and picked guys that fit the line of what ended up being my college football playoff. And we've seen that happen over the past few years since the playoffs inception, is that a lot of times those that are picked are because they're a part of the best teams, because they're a part of the storylines. Their name is constantly in the headlines. And if Florida State, which is a nationally recognized and rooted for brand in college football, gets back to the college football playoff, wins the ACC, and puts himself in this position to compete for a national title, you can bet your ass that Mike Norvell's winning this award. I don't think that there will be a more I don't want to say unanimous because I don't know if it's going to be unanimous, but an easier decision for the media to make than just to pick Mike Norvell. It makes too much sense. And you could have Brian Kelly go undefeated, and I wouldn't be shocked if Mike Norvell doesn't come out and win this award because they love the storyline so much. They just love to pick guys like that.
Well, not only that, they normally give it to new head coaches, aka Sonny Dykes. Like the truth, Kirby Smart should have won the award last year. Yes. Sonny Dykes won it.
Yes.
Even though Sonny Dykes literally just lost and got his teeth kicked in by Kansas State.
Sonny Dykes deserved
They
to win
should have
that
given
award.
it to Kirby Smart, and you
Sonny
know it.
Dykes deserved to win that award. Come on now.
Joe,
That accomplishment.
They played jars of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches outside, and meanwhile Kirby's just kicking everybody's ass.
He got TCU to a national championship.
And lost by 65 points.
Look, we don't need to pay attention to what the final score was at the game. That game didn't happen. That game didn't happen. He still got TCU.
Who's the national champion?
That's even more of an accomplishment. He got a team that clearly did not belong in a national championship to the national championship. That is an accomplishment, Blake.
You know who's a dark horse for me to win this?
Who?
Harbaugh. Let me tell you why it's a dark horse. If they go undefeated in the Big Ten again, at some point they're going to have to vote him to win the Coach of the Year award. Nobody talks about Harbaugh, man. Nobody likes to talk about Harbaugh. But, Joe, if they go undefeated, man.
Can I put this out there? I actually feel like the media does not like Harbaugh. And, I mean, I'm one of those people that I don't like Harbaugh. I don't.
Well, but the khakis and the stuff that he does, I don't know why the media hates him. Like, why do they hate him?
He's kind of a difficult person from what I've seen, but they don't like him. And they were quick to call for his firing when he wasn't beating Ohio State. And then they were quick to report on his interest in leaving for the NFL. They have never given him the benefit of the doubt. I agree with you. I think he should win the award if they win the Big Ten again and they go undefeated, but I feel like he might have some powers working against him. One more name just throw out there, Kalen DeBoer. I think that Kalen DeBoer, if they win the Pac-12, that's a slam dunk.
Oh, that's a interesting one. That's an interesting one. You know who else I think could win it, and you're not going to like this?
Who?
I do think that there's a chance that Dabo gets back in the playoff, though.
And you think that actually that does. I mean, if he brings him back to the playoff,
if offensively they figured it out. Look, everybody and their mama, Joe, let me tell you something. Everybody and their mama is saying, okay, that they don't have weapons on the outside. I completely disagree with that. I 1,000% disagree with that. Okay, mainly just due to the fact that they did not have an offense. Look. Offensively, they sucked last year.
Yeah, it was terrible play calling, and there hasn't been any development in the receiver room. So it's really easy to make that claim, and I'm happily going to easily make that claim. But I need to see something before I can admit that they've got some receivers. If they come out firing and Riley gets them all set up and they're rolling, absolutely, man. Like I don't disagree with that. That's been my whole take.
Everybody's coming in here and asking about Denver
Harris. I can tell you're distracted by that.
Well, I just don't want it to be answered here. Well, look,
we'll see. That's what we call a tease in the media.
No, it's that I don't want to. No, because I need to get off the air and then make a phone call and figure this out. So
that's a good point. You never want to just.
And look, I'm not going to break any news tonight. It doesn't matter what's told to me. You know, I'm not. Right. Brian Kelly will address this probably on Wednesday. It's not my business to say unless somebody reports it. All right. Speaking of Jim Harbaugh, okay, Joe, I might go on a little bit of a rant on this, okay, because this has come to a conclusion. But here's where I sit, and I need you to just listen to me for just 5 seconds. Like, just hear me out.
Okay.
Everybody keeps saying that, the infraction is not about with Harbaugh facing a 4-game suspension. It has nothing to do with him paying recruits or paying for recruits to eat food. Okay? That this has to do with lying. Okay. I understand what you're saying. However, what are we doing? Like, I get that it's an infraction that he lied to you. You're not the federal government. You're not the police. Like, Joe, he's being investigated over feeding kids. And so all of this to start, I'm glad that Harbaugh's not getting a 4-game suspension. I am thrilled that the NCAA lost, that Harbaugh's not facing a 4-game suspension. At some point, dude, we got to come to a realization. Like, can we just be realistic about life? Like, bro, he makes $10 million a year roughly, right? I mean, give or take.
Yeah.
He paid for a fucking cheeseburger. I mean, Joe, come on, man. Come on. You got, by the way, the number 1 player in the country committed to Missouri today, right?
Yes, I saw that.
Okay. The state of Missouri just did a very big thing for NIL where people can players can sign financial aid agreements and start receiving NIL through collectives in the state of Missouri. Right? That's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
But those goddamn cheeseburgers, though.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. I'm going to read the quote from the article.
Okay, please do.
The Michigan infractions case is related to impermissible on and off campus recruiting during the COVID-19 dead period and impermissible coaching activities, not a cheeseburger. Crawford wrote, challenging a message board narrative that found traction in recent months. It is not uncommon for the COI to seek clarification on key facts prior to accepting. The COI may also reject an NR negotiated resolution if it determines that the agreement is not in the best interest of the association or the penalties are not reasonable. Last bit here. If the involved parties cannot resolve a negotiated resolution process, it may proceed to a hearing, but the committee believes cooperation is the best avenue for quickly resolved issues. Look, here's just the way that I'm looking at this.
First off,
I'm not reading that to disprove anything you said. I'm just reading it for context.
Jimbo also said that their collective was horseshit, and they just disbanded it because of the IRS thing. So yeah. I'm listening to the Michigan people, like our buddy David Cohn, okay, played quarterback at Michigan. He came out and confirmed through Michigan that this was what was going on. So if you have a dude who's more plugged into it, I'm going to go with Cohn and what he's hearing versus these other Rudy Poos. Just saying, bro. Like,
yes, that's statements from the NCAA from those that are operating.
And let me give you an example. There was a recruit from Texas A&M who said, "Oh, we didn't sign contracts." He posted the contract on Instagram.
I'm mostly reading it for context, not because I disagree with you, but because no. All I'm reading it for is, as I said at the beginning of the show, this is a pissing match. Like, this is literally a dick measuring contest between the two of them. The NCAA felt like that they have been, overall, they've clearly been taken advantage of by NIL, by the transfer portal. They have no control. And as we said, when the suspension was put out there, it was an attempt to regain control. Whenever they drop these suspensions and these penalties, it is a way to say, we still have a little bit of power that we're hanging on to. And I think that the fact that they've been laughed at by everybody, they're like the little pissed off kid that's mad that things didn't go his way. Like, that's what this is. He's losing more and more. They're losing more and more power, and they don't like the way that they've been treated and they've been talked about. And they're just trying to take it all out on Harbaugh. That's all I'm reading it as. Like, the cheeseburger or not, I think that they're just trying to make a statement because they know they don't have anything.
A statement on what? Like, right? Like, a statement on what?
Right. That's my point. Is it's silly. It's really stupid.
You need to make a statement on? You need to make a statement on. Look, Joe, have they made a statement on the IRS thing with the collective at A&M?
No, because they don't have. They move too damn slow to be able to provide any information for that. Because they stink.
Good on Harbaugh, bro. Well, good on Harbaugh. Because
now he's probably going to get suspended more games.
For what?
If they didn't agree upon the proposed 4-game suspension, then that means they're going to probably come out with more because they want to make it bigger.
Okay, well, please suspend him then. Because you know what's interesting in all this? Let me tell you what's interesting. What's blowing my mind is these national writers that everybody just so much loves, so much. Dellinger, 40, Thamel. Why aren't they reporting it?
On this, I think that
Meaning, no, they reported about the suspension. If you've noticed, they have not said what the infractions are. They said multiple violations during COVID-19.
That's true.
But you know what? When your boy out there in Memphis, Penny Hardaway, did something, they wrote articles detailing stuff. Will Wade, Jeremy Pruitt, they gave details. Why aren't you giving details if you're reporting any of this?
Because they don't have shit. They don't have shit.
Well, and because it's probably stupid as shit. And let me tell you what they're probably going to do. They're probably going to hit him with something else he did. They're not going to hit him with the initial stuff. They're going to keep digging and hitting with the initial stuff. And this is probably why he's trying to go to the NFL.
I mean, I wouldn't be – I actually, you know what? I'm going to put that out there as like kind of a nice bow for this before we get to the Michael Oher thing. I wouldn't be shocked if this suspension doesn't come at the end of the season and he doesn't have another great year, which I have predicted that they will have another great year. And they give him like a 6 or an 8 game suspension. Or maybe even they decide to ramp it up to a year because they find something that they can blow out of proportion, that he doesn't just immediately jump ship and go to the NFL. I really would not be shocked that that doesn't happen. Would not be surprised one bit.
They're killing the game, man. They're killing the game.
Sucks.
Yeah. All right, you want to talk about this Michael Oher thing before we roll out of here?
Bonkers. Yeah, let's get to it.
All right, you want to give the people a little bit of a understanding of what's going on? Because, look, I don't – you've read up on more of this. I've just read the headlines of this. So can you give more of a detailed description of what's going on with Michael Oher and the Tuohys?
Yeah, what sparked the headlines today was an ESPN article that was published regarding Michael Oher, the former All-American, 2-time All-American offensive lineman at Ole Miss. He was also the subject of the book and the movie The Blind Side, Academy Award-winning film. There was a lot of money that was made by –
won an Oscar for.
Yeah. There was a lot of money that was made by the Tuohy family that the movie was based on. And there is a lawsuit alleging from Oher that he was taken advantage of, that he signed paperwork that he was not adopted, but he was rather similar to – I think it's a similar type of agreement with that Britney Spears was in with her father, where the Tuohys acted as their decision makers and acted as the financial beneficiaries of anything that he couldn't make his own financial decisions. Basically, he wasn't a child. He was basically a disabled kid, is the way that it's phrased, is that they have to make those decisions for him, which is far from true. He was upset the way that he was portrayed in the film, that he was portrayed as a dumbass. He thought that a lot of people assumed that he was like
bro,
special
he knew
needs.
What a bed was.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, that was one of the things in the article, is that like he had NFL coaches who thought he was special needs, and it's like, bro, I'm not that stupid. That was in the movie. That's not me, which is insane and infuriating at the same time.
My
but
God.
On top of that, though, the family individually, each member of the family got money for the film, and he hasn't seen a dime from it, according to him. I saw that SJ, who is the little boy in the film,
he's coaching now, and he's on somebody's staff, I thought.
He was at Arkansas, I think. And right now he does like collective work for UCF. But he went on Barstool and was kind of giving a bunch of non-answers and was basically trying to make it seem like Michael Oher was receiving money. But this is all coming from the fact that they signed him into an agreement where he had no control over his finances for a period of time and was completely robbed without knowing it until now.
Okay. Do I think ultimately Michael Oher got hosed in this deal? Yes.
I don't even know if it's hosed. I think it's just a young, uneducated.
Well, hold on.
Uneducated is the wrong word. A young high school kid that doesn't.
The movie didn't come out when he was in high school.
But the paperwork he signed was when he was in high school. So my point is that the paperwork that he signed
for the book, not the movie.
No. I'm saying that he signed paperwork that gave his parents, when he was 18 years old, he thought that paperwork meant he was being adopted. But in reality, it was handing over the decision-making capabilities to.
Correct. Right.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that they took advantage of an 18-year-old kid that didn't know what he was reading and did not know what he was being handed.
I do agree. So let me get back to what I was saying. I do agree that he got hosed. The first question I have is why now?
I'm sorry, I had to pull this up. That's insane.
Well, Orgeron didn't have the job then, I don't think.
No, he did.
Orgeron did just gotten the job.
You're right.
Yeah,
right.
I think because Orgeron was late and they talked about in the movie, whatever.
Yeah.
Saban's leaving and he wanted to go to LSU, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Look, man, I just want to know why now. That's what I want to know. Like, why now?
Well, if you systematically do a really good job of covering shit up and you're taking advantage of somebody, like.
But Joe, like this has been going on for 10 years. Why now?
I just don't know if it's that simple. Like, I don't know if it's that simple that he immediately would have been like, "Oh my God, you're taking my money."
To the games, he had him on the sidelines when they won the Super Bowl.
Well, that's what I'm getting at is that he thought that they always had his best interest.
He didn't have an accountant, he didn't have an agent, and the agent never pointed out to him. Hold on.
It was in the article that his agent was a family friend that was a lawyer, so they went full extent to take advantage of him.
Well,
that's what's even more. That's what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying. Like, why now? It's a good point. Like, how does this come up now? But I just think it's a really good proof of like a kid that was so far taken advantage of, thought he was being brought in and treated fairly, and was being given an amazing opportunity and brought in by this wealthy family. But in reality, they didn't. They were doing what was best for them, not him. Clearly, not him.
I want to know what I guess. What's the resolution going to be? They're going to have to pay him all that money back?
That's what the lawsuit is basically saying, that he was forced into signing this without understanding, and that he's owed the money that was given to the family and not given to him.
Well, I don't know what to say. I don't think.
I know.
I don't really. Do I think that the Tuohys are pieces of shit?
Yes.
Yeah, it feels that way. But here's another thing, too. And something that we need to understand. Michael Lore came out with this, but there's always two sides to a story.
That's true. The one thing I will say, and I watched some of the clips that SJ, the kid, the youngest.
Yeah, what was he saying on Barstool?
He was saying a bunch of non-answers, but one of the things that he made was a really good point. Is like, did you know how smart we'd have to be to find a kid, to bring him in just with the intent of taking his money, and then to know that he was going to pan out and go to the NFL? And he was saying how, like, when he was a coach, that, if I could hit on 4 and 5 star recruits, that the amount that I've missed on, like if I had that high of a hit rate, like, I'd still be in coaching or something along those lines, which is a good point. It's a fair point that, like, there's no way that they could have known down the line that this was going to happen. A very rich family
could sell his story.
Yes. That's
a very rich family that a dude that owns multiple Taco Bells, KFCs, whatever. He has the money and connections to get in touch with somebody at Warner Brothers, okay, and say, hey, man, this is and it became a book. They did a book about it. The book was the reason why the movie came out, because it was so popular. And this kid was starting at Ole Miss. The book is what started the national attention. It's what started the national attention.
The more that we talk about this, I really don't know how I can find a way that the Tuohys aren't ones that.
The only thing that I can think is potentially, what's something that we hadn't talked about? That they wanted to write a book, okay, about it or whatever, and he couldn't get paid off of his name, image, and likeness, and they received the money for him.
That's possible. I don't know what the timeline is, though. That's the thing. That is possible.
Or 2005, 2006.
Well, but like, when was he still playing by the time? When was he on?
I mean,
the
he
NFL?
was what, you guys, and y'all could correct us in the chat, 2006, 2007. I mean, that's when all this started happening. I know one thing: Sandra Bullock is so fine in that movie. I mean, when she walks, I just want to. Never mind.
All right. We're 2 weeks away from the season. We don't need to
Get suspended.
Get us in trouble. Yeah, get in trouble.
Well,
no, it's
I like my
crazy.
Sandra Bullock like I like my gravy smothered.
I'm gonna make that the clip from the episode.
Okay, well,
I'm not actually going to.
All right, well, because I get canceled. All right.
Yes.
We will see you guys Wednesday, correct?
Wednesday.
We talk about games aren't this Saturday. They're the following
Monday. It's game week.
This upcoming Monday.
It's game week.
All right. Well, let's start talking about some games. Until then, we'll talk to y'all guys soon. Y'all have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts.